What's your birthday?
5/17/37.
Okay. All right, Garwood, we're going to show you some pictures here.
I've seen these pictures.
I hope so.
I always had Christmas Eve
Right.
at Aunt Ring's. And Aunt Rachel had Christmas Day.
Oh, you went to, again, Faulkner High School, graduated in the class of
55.
and really from there went in the Army and worked at the city of Jamestown.
Yeah.
And then bliss occurred and when you met Maxine.
Brother-in-law and I stopped in Bonesies for a beer.
Bonesies, okay.
And he was in
That's
Faulkner,
right.
yeah. Well, the sign is still there.
Meat market too at one time. Beatrice's friend. School friend. Bonnie Lloyd.
Love at first sight?
Oh no, we went together quite a while. Long time, huh?
Beatrice, did you have much, because there was an age difference, did you have much interaction with her?
Oh yeah, right up to the end.
Yeah.
She was a good homekeeper and worker. Frewsburg Furniture salesperson.
In your interactions with your brother Gordon, he was 10 years older, was pretty limited growing up?
Yeah, it was because of the age difference, and he was in Florida.
When did he go in the military?
When he was 17, whatever that was.
Lyle was in the Navy.
Navy, yeah, but they both were in Navy, yep.
We interviewed your brother. It's on YouTube. Musical abilities of your brother Gordy, or the lack thereof.
I was going to say,
Tell him about your Hawaiian guitar.
Oh yeah, Lyle. Your good old dad, my best friend. Because we were living in an apartment, a basement apartment, if you will, way down Faulkner Street, below where Kip or some damn place down in there. Come and knock on the door, and these people were out there, a man and a woman, and they came in and they were selling Hawaiian guitar lessons. And I don't know why, but I just fell for it, you know? And my mom and dad, you know, mother wasn't working and dad was working every day, thank God. You know, because he'd been with Art Metal a long time and he had a good job, you know, for an hourly job. Anyhow, I was, you know, fascinated with this damn Hawaiian guitar. This guy had a little bar, you know, on there, and you slide that around and pluck on it with it. I wanted it. And Mom and Dad didn't say no, but they told me, if you do, you will complete it. You'll do it. So anyhow, I signed up and got it, and I took guitar lessons, Hawaiian guitar lessons, and we'd go to a movie on Saturday, Lyle and I, and I'd be lugging this dang thing. I'd take another chair to, you know, seat in the theater. Oh gosh! And Lyle, you know, he's having a good time reminding me, you know, that because I said I ain't never going to do this, and here I am doing it.
Yeah.
And what happened? Who'd you play for?
Oh well, and then Grandma Carlson was in bad straits health-wise. She really was, and she lived at home there, and one night they said, well, why don't you go up and play for Grandma? I said, okay. So I did. And don't you know, Grandma died that night. And Lyle, Lyle said, remember when you killed Grandma?
Lyle never let him forget. He killed his grandma playing her music.
Don't you know, Lyle come up with that.
That's good. That is really good.
Remember the night you killed Grandma?
Oh,
We talked about it for years.
I know it. Lyle always talked about that. Gordon his guitar.
Jeez, that's terrific. Growing up with your mother, did you spend a lot of time with your dad?
Oh, yeah. Well, he worked,
Right.
and he picked me up quite a bit. Did a lot of fishing, hunting,
What did you hunt for?
squirrel,
Squirrel?
on Bone Run. There was a camp at the top of Phillips Run that we stayed in when we were deer hunting.
So what did you think when your sister Beatrice was dating an athlete?
Never give it a thought, really. He was a nice guy. Oh, we were always fighting when we were kids,
You were fighting.
all the time.
She was picking on you.
Yeah, I'd say so.
So why would she pick on you? Were you? I can't imagine you being anything but a straight-laced guy.
That's the way she was. She had a pretty good temper.
She did.
Yep, we did.
How did it demonstrate itself? Yelling, or did she hit you? Or
Oh hell, we hit each other.
ah,
Yeah,
nice.
but it didn't last. Oh, there's Mary Jane. Yeah, Paul Lundeen, 1269 North Main. Remember I showed you their house? There's a picture of Mary Jane.
I never.
She was a pretty girl.
I always thought she was the most beautiful woman.
She was.
And she was, yes.
Did you have much interaction with my grandmother Rachel and my
Boy.
grandfather Otto?
Oh, you betcha. They're always looking out for us. Yeah, Uncle Pete, boy, anything come to town, like the Barnum and Bailey Circus, they would stop at the, with the bullfrog inn, and they'd unload their elephants and all the stuff up there to start the parade. And he'd come and get me and take me down there to see that. They'd march down and go to the airport, and set up their tents. And yeah, and then Harlem Globetrotters he took me to. Oh, there was a lot of them, a lot of things that he did. He's a good man, good to me. And they had that little Cocker Spaniel, black. Yeah, and Uncle Pete took that dog down to have it put away. He brought it back and it cost him $25 or something like that. He couldn't do it. That's right, you had that place up Panama. We were up there and stayed
Did you?
one time, yeah. Yeah, Gordon and me and you. There's Uncle Whitey, I'll be darned.
Do you remember Whitey and Rose?
Oh, yes.
What do you remember about them?
They were pretty much loners.
Whitey's story, unlike your story where you decided to, you retire at 65, and because you had so much accumulated time, you essentially left at 64. My Uncle Whitey retired. They had a big Blackstone, they had a big event, they got a watch, the gold watch, and everybody's happy. We'll see you, Whitey, have a good life. He then went to apply for Social Security, and they needed to get a birth certificate. So he didn't know where it was. Rose couldn't find the birth certificate, so they finally went to the church where he was baptized and got the birth certificate. And here he was 64.
No.
So he had to go back to Blackstone and said, thanks for the party, but I still got to work another year.
That really happened, huh?
That happened. Can't make that stuff up.
And I retired at 54, not
Oh,
54,
Oh,
yeah.
Wow.
And Rang,
Yeah.
she lived in an apartment down below us. Boy, she was one hell of a cook. Man, she could bake. Oh, gee whiz. Strawberry pies. They were that thick, covered with, and they made their own toppings. They didn't buy none of these quick things and just spray on. They took the egg whites and did something with it. Yep.
They used to have wrestling matches Saturday afternoon. It was on CBS, Channel 4. And my Aunt Rang knew all those guys, screaming and yelling. The person you see on movies, you know, throw the bag at the TV and all that stuff. So we took her, Otto and I went to Dunkirk to see a live one.
Oh,
Oh
no.
my gosh. And it got the seats right in the front. You know, you got the bad guy, and then she started banging on that person. This is Aunt Rang, who had to be, I'm guessing, let's say 60. You know, she was out of control, but she loved her wrestling. My dad loved to egg on my Aunt Rang.
Oh, yeah. They're
Oh, it's unbelievable. So he would drive her, because she didn't drive, and she was
No, she.
old maid. And so we'd get in the car, and he would be driving her home. And in the winter, he'd go up King Street, King Street.
Yeah.
like this,
Oh, yeah.
and she'd be in the front, and he'd just get us.
Yeah.
She'd be screaming and yelling. 'Cause my dad was having such a hoot. And then, of course, came down. It was not only going up, which was
yeah.
the swim, and coming down and hitting the brakes, and inevitably thinking we're going to end up in a Shattercoin. Oh, my dad was terrible with her. I mean, it was fun, but and of course we're in the back seat laughing. This is great humor. Poor Aunt Rang's having a heart attack.
Remember, she used to wear those in the wintertime, those metal cleats that go on the bottom of your shoes so you don't slip on ice?
Yeah.
Remember them?
God, you're unbelievable.
Uncle Pete and Aunt Rachel would stop and pick them up, Mom and her. They used to go down to Warren to the Blue White restaurant.
Because Otto was a salesman.
Oh, yeah. I looked at them big buildings there where the Furniture Mart used to be there. On what, 2nd Street?
Right.
And I remember going up there one time with Uncle Pete.
Must have been that kid that Otto liked. And
Oh, he was good. Now, I see you got a picture of Uncle Dick.
I never knew him. Talk to me about
I
Dick.
have been. I've only seen him a few times. He worked some wood factory. He married a Flo, I think her name was.
What about Russell?
Very little. He had that little store there in the Point down there in Washington and what other street come down through there. But he did raise chinchillas.
Got a great memory. I love it.
Yeah, he had chinchillas in the cellar. Can you remember that?
I do. Cages and cages and cages in his basement.
Yeah. I wonder if he ever made out on them. He was supposed to go and make so much money on them, but all of a sudden the market dropped.
Mildred.
Mildred,
Yeah.
yep. Yeah, and Mildred, yeah, she was a quiet-spoken woman.
We'd always go over there for Christmas, and Mildred would meticulously. Remember icicles? Remember those things you'd buy in a
Christmas
packet?
tree.
Yeah,
And we kids would just throw them by the
yeah,
buckets just to get them up there.
get them up there.
She would take them apart
Yeah.
one by one. 1, 2. And they're beautiful.
Oh yeah, when they're done.
God, and it took forever. All right, quick quiz. The R's of life. You know all the...
Rachel Red.
Then there was a Lee, he was a dentist.
Yep.
And he was Uncle
Russell.
Russell's son.
That's right.
He had died of a heart attack.
But he died early. But when you think about that family, Rose had no children.
Right,
Rang had no children.
right.
Russell had one,
I believe, yeah.
Lee. My grandfather had one. And Richard, I don't think, had any children.
No, Uncle Dick, no.
So when you sort it out, Rudy had 3, which made him very Catholic.
I don't think so.
Your dad wasn't religious, was he?
I don't really know. He didn't push it if he was. Let's put it that way.
You're the patriarch of the whole side of that side of the family.
I'm the last one.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You're a legend, so I hope everybody gets your autograph because it's worth a lot today. It was a reflection of the times, Depression times. People weren't going to get a lot. They couldn't afford it.
Right.
It was
Oh,
like-
yeah.
Just a conscious decision.
I can remember the night that the war ended and they had that parade.
Tell me.
Well, they said they'd have a parade no matter what time or when the war was ended. Come over the radio or something. It ended.
The Japanese have accepted our terms fully. That's the word we've just received from the White House in Washington. This, ladies and gentlemen, is the end of the Second World War.
You'd have been 8 years old, August of 45.
I had marching bands, I know.
Were the bells, church bells ringing?
Oh, yeah, the church bells were ringing and old Jamestown was lit up. You know, I heard that Jamestown was number 10 to be bombed during the war because of the ball bearing factories. You had Gurney's, you had Robert and Rockwell's. Without ball bearings, you couldn't fly no airplanes. Oh, my Army, they don't want to know about my Army.
Absolutely. Garwood, the good news is statute of limitations is run, so you can tell us.
Oh, no, that was fun. I loved the Army.
So tell me.
But I was stationed in New York City on Long Island. And I had my car down there. And I had a military car, or truck. And I liked it. I'd have stayed in if it wouldn't have been, I had a good job at the BPU.
My dad, I thought, referred to you occasionally as Gullywood.
Gullywood, oh yes, yes, yes.
Where'd that come from?
I don't have no idea. No, I don't know how. Oh yeah, he was Gullywood, yeah.
As close as Lyle, this is because Lyle and Uncle Gordy were. Can you ever remember them talking of some little hellish little thing that they could have done that, I mean, I can just imagine the crap they did do, really. Not bad stuff, you know, but just getting, can you remember any of those good stories or that you heard what they did together, the crap that they pulled?
I know they pulled some, but I can't really.
I interviewed my dad before about Gordy. You were pretty ingenious, and you and Gordy got into some, you were kind of a Katzenjammer kids, got into your own little areas of trouble and interest. And
We had something. Yeah, Cindy don't want to talk too much about this stuff because you don't want to hear all this stuff. we were, you know, as kids, you didn't have, you understand, you didn't have TV, and we didn't really have a lot of pressure for studies because I've said this before, but it sounds. We knew we were going to go into service. I mean, you didn't know when the war was going to end, so everything was kind of a lark, you know. I mean, you took it, like I said, the ice skating that took preference over everything. And we had basketball teams. We played one night at least up at Washington, you know, in a league that we had. Smedberg was our proctor and all that stuff there. And so we had things that we had to do, you know, really, really important stuff besides schoolwork. And I managed to always do that stuff first. That came, and I don't know, I had good grades in grade school. I mean, when I wasn't old enough to do a lot of these crazy things, but I knew that I'd let schoolwork slide. Shouldn't have done that, but I did. And had to take an entrance exam to get in Allegheny, and passed that and got in. But otherwise, you know, I didn't get in on my high school grades, and that wasn't smart. But I mean, you know, I was smart enough to get past
instead
that.
of studying, you and Gordy were out doing other things.
Yeah. And Gordy had a car, you know, and I never had a car then. I mean, that thing I had was for weeks, but he had a car his senior year, and he worked at a gas station, and so we had unlimited supplies of that. Actually got so bad, some of the kids really wasn't involved in that. They go around at nights and, you know, take the hoses off the cars. You know, they were closed, and just the drippings of the gas tank into the thing, and go to the next one and dump and all that the next day at night when they're closed. You weren't stealing gas; you were just getting it out of their hoses, whatever it was. And I don't know how much they ever got, but they were pulling that stuff too. And in fact, Walt Klein and Gordy, when we meet that East End gang, you know, we have a meeting once a month, and there's a lot of great stories come out of that stuff. A lot of great stories. And like I say, nobody got hurt. Nobody did anything really bad. You didn't monkey with guns and things like that. I mean, everybody hunted. That's another story on that. But we didn't. You know, there was no. You had maybe a few fights, but that was with fists and stuff like that. You know, that's kids' tempers and all that stuff.
Behind the screen doors. That's true.
Well, that's what Grandma used to say. But those guys were, you know, that was Ray Hammerstead and them. They were 6 years older than I was. They chased me home. I don't know what I did to them to get them to chase me, but they chased me home. And yeah, that was Grandma's story. But some of it was true. I had to run for home to save my life.
Well, you had some pranks.
Well, that's right. And then another thing too, he didn't get much stuff. You know, I told you about Aunt Rand giving me the dog and Rose's skates. Couldn't get a two-wheel bike, and I must have been probably 10 years old, and I still had a three-wheeler, but I had a big three-wheeler. The back wheels were this big, and I could ride that bike, tip it, and ride on two wheels. You know, just for the fact that I was challenging. I wanted a two-wheeler, but I wasn't getting one, and I do that. And I could take that thing out of the garage on Surgeon Street, and I could go all the way up the Blanchard Street hill. And it was a pretty steep hill, and turn around and come all the way down, full bore, and never have that other wheel go down. And I remember Marilyn Jones's grandfather who lived with him, and his brother was here from Pittsburgh. And he come over and he said, "Lyle," he said, "go get your bike." He said, "I want to tell my brother Charlie, or whoever he was, that I know a kid that can do something that he's never seen doing." I said, "Yeah, I will." So I went in my garage and got my bike, and I came out, did this thing, and these two old guys just stood there and watched it. I couldn't believe it. But I had that down. But then I did get a two-wheeler, and I think that probably shamed my dad into getting it for me. I got a Roadmaster. But I probably was 12 years old before I got a two-wheeler. Different life. You kids got them when you were 5 and 6 years old.
Sure.
Oh.
Did you have girlfriends? Was that an interest that you're...
No, there wasn't any girls in our neighborhood except Marilyn Jones, and she had a ball because she could be around there, you know, and you'd play red light, green light, and all these things here, and Truth and Consequence, and you know how they tease her about who was her boyfriend, and well, then she literally named every kid in the neighborhood. And Marilyn, she was kind of a big shot, or whatever you want to call it, a special breed of cat in our neighborhood because it was all boys. It was strange that must have had 8, 10 of us that were of my age, you know, boys. It was a great neighborhood for that. And we had ball teams, and we played football. We did everything, you know, in their backyards. And in fact, I got pictures of boxing too that we did and things like that. And I don't know, I haven't ever told you about on this anyway, about the white rats I had. I traded with guy's name was Uffy, his nickname. Oh my gosh, I can't think now what his name. We were talking about him the other day with the East End gang, and I traded him something for 2 white rats, and it had a big cage, and it had a merry-go-round in it, and these rats would go around in there, you know, and it was quite a circus act, like, you know. I thought, but it's wonderful. And one of them had gotten its tail cut off, and he was mean. I couldn't monkey much with him. I kept him in the cage, but the other one I could walk around with him on my shoulder. So I'd walk around the neighborhood with this big white rat on my shoulder. And my favorite target was Mrs. Samuelson, who lived across the street. And she'd see me coming, and she'd be sitting on her porch in the summertime. "Lyle Pearson, don't you come up on my porch with that rat. Don't you dare come up here." And of course that was just, you know, and she'd run in the house. And I had that rat. And I got scared a lot of other people too with that guy. And I had names for him. I can't tell you what they were, but I lost interest in him, I think. And Dad, he said, "We could get rid of them." He was always the guy who was cleaned up my act, you know, and did things for me. So he took him down to Walgreens feed store, and he thought it was Dad was always impressed with just about all these things I ever monkeyed with, and he thought, go down there, maybe get a $10 bill for this cage and a merry-go-round and everything else, And so when he came back, Mother asked him or something like that. She says, well, what'd you get for it? Because he had told her he's going down and sell them. He says, what the heck? He said, I had to give him a couple bucks to take them. So it backfired all the way around. He wanted them rats. But he had a pet store there, and so that's how we got rid of the rats.
You guys put some Halloween pranks, didn't you?
Yeah, we did our share, but a lot. The older kids were in the neighborhood taught us things too, I mean, we did a rat-a-tat on the windows and would ring doorbells and run, and they put that bag of manure, on it and lit it one time in one guy's house, and he come out in his slippers and to put it out, and he jumped all over in this fresh manure. Oh gosh, that was tough. And then they started a fire in the sewer, and the story was that it backed up into the guy's house. And he had smoke coming up through the commode. Whether they did or not, I don't know. It sounds kind of far-fetched, but they claim that did happen there. But we used to hang tin cans on cars. And one night, Bobby Busey, it was his turn next. And we were all sitting on the other side of the corner there, and Bobby's got the cans, and he's going up to the car, the stop sign. And we see it's the police. So we're doing this. Come on, Bobby, baby. He didn't see us, and he puts the cans. The cops have been called up there because the neighbors were disturbed by our making all this noise. And he puts the cans on the cop's car. And the cops jump out of the car, two of them, with flashlights and stuff, and we run. Holy crow, how we run. Well, they caught a couple of guys that were just just happened to be watching us. And they didn't rat on us, but Gordy and I know we crawled in somebody's garage and laid under a car. And we laid there for probably 45 minutes before we dared come out. And we went upstairs in my bedroom, and we said from that day on we were going to go straight. No more of this stuff we were going to do. And then the next day it was terrible because we didn't tell anybody, and the cops we have a safety patrol thing down at the Faulkner School, and once the policeman came to put that on, and my throat, I figured they were there at somebody had ratted on us, but it wasn't. We found out it was an assembly, and we're okay. Well, then I go home, and Hank Campbell, who lived next door with the Briggies, he announces to Mrs. Samuelson across the street. Mother was out there sweeping. They used to sweep their sidewalks, that's how clean everything was, just like the old Dutchman used to do. And Mother was out there, and Hank Campbell hollers across to Mrs. Samuelson, Mrs. Samuelson, I understand you're the one that called the cops on Lyle last night. That was enough. When I came home from school, my mother wanted a full explanation of what Hank Campbell was talking about, the cops and my name. So then, of course, we had to explain what we'd done, but we didn't. The cops, I think they laughed as much as we did, probably, but when it was all over with anyway, but we never got picked up for it. And it was an innocent thing, but it made a lot of noise, and we were doing this at dark, so probably 8, 9 o'clock at night. And when those cars would take off and the things, and of course they'd all stop because they didn't know what happened to their car. There was another thing. They thought something had really happened. And they'd jump out of their cars, and of course we'd have a good laugh, and we were sitting somewhere where they couldn't find us until the cops came.
Two males, related, and lived near each other. And so they were brothers, essentially.
He used to think the world of your mother, too. Boy, they had a cookout, he'd go get her and take her, towards the end.
Yeah.
Yeah. Because even down here, when they lived, come up here for the summer. Fred,
yes.
that was Dad's dad.
Correct. Do you have memory of Fred?
Oh my God, is it on?
I know when he died.
Okay.
Because we were downstairs, and the doctor come in, and I don't know what he died of.
You ever go to Brookston?
Oh, yeah.
What's your memory of Brookston?
Me and Gordon were down there. Oh, we must have been living in Jamestown. Yeah, definitely. And I told him I wanted to go to Kellyville. And so we took off. And he showed me where Floyd and Barb and them Smiths lived across the bridge there. That was all gone. And we went up to where that pipe comes out of the spring Was you ever down there?
I've been to Brookston, but not there.
Okay. That's where their camp was.
Uh,
Their hunting camp, and we used to stay up there as a kid.
who would you stay with? Your dad?
Grandpa.
Grandpa.
Yeah. Well, Mom and Dad were together then, too. Yeah.
So your grandpa being Grandpa Fred?
Smith. What was? No, it wasn't Fred.
Was your mother from Brookston?
Yeah.
Gosh, I guess I didn't know that.
Yeah.
So that's where they would have met in Brookston?
Brookston, yeah. Where Dad lived?
Yeah,
Never seen that house.
I've got pictures. In Brookston, of the pictures of the kids outside the house with Fred and Hannah in Brookston. And you'll see Brookston, and they'll see Rang and Rachel and Rudy and Russell when they were just kids.
Well, be darned. Gee, there's Aunt Rose. Yeah. Boy, she had a nose that.
That's right.
She did, Aunt Rose. I remember her nose.
Yeah. Boy, look at it there.
Rose.
Yep.
There's Grandpa Fred. Remember he had that little gas station
No, tell me.
down below the house there where he lived, 26 Faulkner Street? It was on the left-hand side. I think it was a Keystone.
We missed one here. Remember, you wouldn't have no reason to remember her, but there was another R, Ruth.
Right.
Ruth, 1940s. I think Ruth and Bob Anderson, Ruth and Robert Anderson, and I don't remember them, but they had a daughter named Ruby Seth. Does that ring a bell?
Yeah,
Ruby
Seth, yes.
I remember that name and that.
She's in Florida. She'd work all day from the voting machine, take the bus home, because that's the only way there was to get around. Buses. Very few cars back then. And she'd bake hams and roast beef, turkey, everything for that Christmas Eve. And I didn't like ham then.
What?
No, but I love pork chops. And she used to make stuffed pork chops for me. God, they were that thick. Wonderful. And strawberry pies. Really, she was a baker.
You're making me hungry.
And for me, it was stuffed pork chops.
Yeah.
For my birthday, she'd make stuffed pork chops.
Yes, me too.
Yeah. I thought I was special. This is really blowing me away.
Hey.
Somebody else was
Now you're bitter again.
Yeah.
Another setback.
Boy.
Did you have graham cracker cream pie too?
Oh, yes. Yeah.
This really blows my head. Two big things my Aunt Rang.
Yep, you betcha.
He's gonna say
I
yes.
remember about Christmas at Aunt Rang. It was really funny because we'd go there first on the Christmas Eve tour. We'd go to Rang's, my dad, we'd have all the presents, my grandfather. It was just a load of presents, and she'd have a big Christmas dinner, which started at 6.
Oh, yeah.
5:36.
Yeah.
And she'd open her presents, and by 8 o'clock, she went to bed. She'd had it. We were all still, kids are wired, because we had more Christmas parties to go to. This was just the first. We'd always start at Rang's, but by then she was tired and exhausted. She worked all day. Boom, into bed she would go. She'd come out with her nightgown. It was one of those deals where we knew when to go. She'd go into her bedroom and she's in her nightgown and adios.
That was that ring, boy.
Thank you for indulging me.
Oh, it didn't be no hurry. It's been great.